Hey, this is Dirk Jan. Before we start, I want to share an important note. This conversation is about the use of AI for mental health. Conversations with AI can be helpful, but they're not the same as therapy. AI tools aren't confidential in the way that therapy is, and it is easy to lean on them more than is healthy. So use them as support, but not as a substitute. What matters most is finding the help and connection you need. And if you're struggling with your mental health, please reach out to a licensed professional or a trusted support line. With that, let's learn about Kuhu Singh's journey as a female founder building Amber. Welcome to Women Disrupting Tech. My name is Dirk Jan Upkes, and on this podcast I give the women who work in tech the platform they need to inspire and empower each other. Join me on a journey into the world of entrepreneurship, funding, biases and role models to discover the strategies for success in the tech industry. In other words, how women can disrupt tech. Are you ready to listen? Hey, welcome back to Women Disrupting Tech, and thank you for tuning in to episode 117. What happens when the path you're on no longer feels right? For Kuhu Singh, working in marketing gave her skills, but no meaning. Remote work brought her flexibility, but no connection. It left her burnt out and searching for something more. That search led her to create Amber, a therapy-like AI companion built to make mental health support more accessible and culturally sensitive. In this episode of Women Disrupting Tech, Kuhu shares the lessons from her journey, how growth turns into responsibility when people all of a sudden depend on your product, how resilience comes from treating doubt as background noise, and why meaning is more powerful than happiness. Her journey is one of stubbornness, wisdom, and clarity, and I can promise you it's one worth listening to. So when you're ready to listen and learn how Burnout fueled Kuhu Singh to build a bridge between AI and therapy with Amber, please welcome to Women Disrupting Tech, Kuhu Singh. Hey, good morning, Kuhu. Good to have you. Please tell us how you got into your current role or current position as founder of Amber.
Hi, Turkian. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Mm-hmm,
Good question. How I got into this position is pretty funny because I used to work in marketing for tech companies. That's what I did for 3 years.
mm-hmm,
And then I was really burnt out with because I used to work for a US based startup in Boston and it was remote. So my hours were really, really, really messed up. So naturally, and it was also work from home. So there were no boundaries, nothing being created, and all of that. So I got really burnt out. And then I came up with this idea of having an AI based workplace well being solution.
mm-hmm,
Long story short, that didn't really work out because I saw a bigger problem, which was why not make it for general access, where because mental health problems are for everyone, not
mm-hmm,
just for employees. And it was a B2B platform, so that was also very hard to market, just as a solo founder. So I was like, I'm just going to open it up. And at that point of time, AI was super on hype, which is 2024 in summers. You had
mm-hmm,
all these awesome tools that you can use even as a non-technical founder, which at that point I was. I was like, why don't I just go ahead and make a mental well-being platform for everyone who can use it, just for their well-being. So that's really how I came up with the idea of pivoting from a previous product which was more generalized to a more focused product to a more generalized product. Yeah, that's how I really, but being a founder wasn't really the goal. The goal
yeah,
was really to just have solved that problem that I really found was important, which was accessibility of mental health. I was just trying to solve that problem, and really, honestly, being a founder just is like a byproduct of it. It just happened.
Okay. So why is that accessibility important to you?
I think I come from India, and back in India, back in home where I was born and brought up, mental health is really a big stigma.
Hmm.
People usually say, it's nothing, doesn't really exist, and all of that. We're still opening up to it in metropolitan cities, but even though my parents were pretty educated, we also lived in a metro. It was just that I was in high school and I told them I don't know, I'm not feeling okay. So I felt that from when I was a teenager, where I could not access happy mental health and really, a therapist or any of that. So I went to a lot of platforms, which were like community driven platforms, like I think it was Seven Cups or something. And I was talking to people on that, trying to feel better. It didn't really help. My parents didn't understand. Then when I came to college, to uni in the Netherlands, I had different set of problems, and I really needed someone to talk to at that point of time. I just didn't have the money to be able to afford therapy because it's
Uh-huh.
about 100 to $200 or even euros because you don't really get insurance. Doesn't pay off a therapist. It pays off psychiatric help. I don't
Yeah.
think I needed psychiatric help at that point of time. I only needed someone to talk to and help me with my problems. So I just couldn't really find anyone to talk to for a long time. When I was able to find someone, the first therapist I met wasn't really a good match. And I think he did more damage than good to me. So it was just really not really working out. By the time last year, I was going through a really rough patch. That's
Hmm.
also when the idea of Amber came on, where I was
Yeah.
like, I really need someone to talk to. Can I please talk to someone? And I really built something that I wanted, which I
Hmm.
could talk to. And then it was really helpful to me. So I just opened it up to the public, sort of.
Okay. So I'm going to ask a really ignorant question here. So tell me the difference between talking to a therapist and talking to a friend about this. What is the sort of emotional load that makes this different?
Yeah, I think when we talk to friends, this is at least from my own
Hmm.
observation and also from, my friends who talk to me about their feelings is they don't tend to be that understanding because they have their own set of problems. They're not a clean slate. I'm not saying that therapists are always a clean slate, but
Hmm.
they don't know you, they don't have expectations. You're not going to hurt your therapist if you say something, but you may hurt your friend. You, for example, have a problem with them or you're going through something hard. You just need someone to understand your problem and really work through it. It's not just about talking but also working through your problem. So I think that's what a therapist really brings in, is, I would say, sort of a clinical perspective to your life and really help you reframe your thoughts or get out of a
It's
tough situation.
Yeah, it's much more systematic and much more
Yeah.
solution oriented. Whereas
Yeah.
a friend would be a conversation like, "Hey, I'm having this problem," and either they whine with you. Whine is the wrong word here, but they grieve with you, or they start immediately solutionizing the whole
Yeah.
thing.
And sometimes you just don't need you don't need a solution for everything. You just need to rewire what you're thinking and how you're thinking and explore it further.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's different from venting in the sense that it's at the end of the day, there needs to be sort of progress on that particular problem.
Yeah, yeah. You need to really unpack things, and you're not gonna talk about your childhood trauma, for example, with your friends. I mean, you can, but you're probably gonna make fun of it. That's how I deal with things. I make fun of things. And when I used to go to my therapist and make fun of things, he was like, I'm not gonna laugh with you. We're gonna unpack this. I was like, oh man, what have I done? Maybe I shouldn't have
Yeah.
made fun of it.
How
Stuff
was
like
that
that.
for you to talk to a therapist? Because I know you do.
Yeah, it was really eye-opening to be honest. A lot of problems I had, and I was a very self-aware client. She said that to me on my face. You know things, you know things about yourself. You still do them. And it really, I think it changed me as a person. I am not the same person I was 6 months ago when I started therapy. It really, really changed me to my core. I cannot give people as much as I used to give because it's not good for me. So I've started putting myself first, and that would be the last thing I used to do earlier. So it really changed me. It was different. It was like having someone who you don't know but really understands you, and
Hmm.
other than your partner or your friends, it is really important to have this one person who really, really believes in you and is able to help you through anything. So
Hmm.
that bond that you make with your therapist is, I think, that's unmatched, which is why when she went on a sabbatical, I think in November, I didn't look for another one. I cannot do this. I cannot do this again because she really got me, and I cannot start unpacking things with someone new. So yeah, it was a different experience.
Okay. So, also on the mental health front, a bit a longer time ago, you used to work for an marketing company, and you had a burnout. How did that burnout, yeah, maybe for lack of a better word, help you reframe your future and look for other roles to play?
Yeah, I think it really just opened my eyes. And I mean, I was pretty young at that point, but I was thinking, if this is going to be it, if I'm just going to keep working and just
Hmm.
feeling like, crap the other day, at the end of the day, and it's 9 p.m. and I just don't have anything to do. I don't have a social life. I don't have, and I wasn't even passionate towards what I was doing because my burnout was really just trumping all the passion I had towards the job. So I would really physically go in exhausted, and it was just not something that I was willing to do to myself. It was just
No.
not sustainable. So it
Yeah.
really made me think, and that's also why, having my own startup is that no matter what happens to my startup, I, you know, I'm so passionate towards it that I'm still going to keep working on it without feeling like, physically tired. But other than that, it was also important to find things to do outside of your work, have an
Yeah.
identity which doesn't really have anything to do with your work. I think it's
Why
different
is that?
for
Why is that important to have that
because
balance?
at some point of time you're gonna get rid of you're gonna be too old to be on that job, or you're just gonna get bored, or something or the other is gonna happen. And I think about my mortality just too much. And if I'm like, if this is the last day that I was gonna be on earth, and this is what I've been doing, feeling tired, not feeling good, just cursing my job, why am I here? What's good is gonna do to me? So that's that's how I think of things, and which is why it was important that every day that I live, I do at least one thing special, which is not really related to my work. So it doesn't mean that I need to get recognition at work, or be able to push out a new feature or whatever. It's more in my personal life. What special thing can I do today that if I die tomorrow, I'm still gonna be like, yeah, at least you know, I went on a walk with my dog and she played so much and it made me really happy. So anything outside of your work, it's really important to have an identity which doesn't surround your work. I think this is also for people who get laid off. It's a different story, but if you spend your life dedicated to your work and you're laid off, then you just have like a big identity crisis. Like, what am I supposed to do? And it's not just about the job, but it's also that you've spent hours and hours at end at that job, and they just they had problems, so they laid you off, and now you just don't know what to do, where to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's not a good feeling to have.
No, 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 for sure, for sure. Did you learn anything good though in the as a marketing person in that tech company that you worked for?
A
Did
lot.
you use
um,
anything that you actually use right now in your current startup? or
A
in the
lot of
previous
a
one?
lot of things. I think especially working for a US startup, it really taught me grit, really going at it, even when things are not really working out. I tend, even though it's a different kind of startup, like it is B2C, I used to do for B2B, it still gives you that perspective of right messaging, how to reach out to customers, how to just position yourself in a very crowded market, which mental health is, how to, reach out, how to just, I know a lot of things like, bringing customers back, even if they're like, cancel my subscription. Like, no, what can I do to bring them back? How do I push the right messaging? So all of those things have really stuck with me. My previous jobs, I had a lot of mentors who really taught me really good things, and they really stuck with me. Even through today, I use them, and as and when we grow, I see myself using my older skill set more than I'm using the newer skill set that I'm building, which has been building Amber. But also, marketing is a big part of it, of any company. If you build it, it's not going to work out. You need to put it out. And how am I going to put it out? That's something that my previous job has really taught me.
Yeah. So you're a solo founder, right?
Yes, I'm a solo founder.
Yeah. Do you also do you have a team right now?
No, it's just me.
Okay, it's just you. Okay. So how do you, because then you had to sort of teach yourself or learn also the technical part. How did you approach that? Because it sounds sort of difficult if you don't have a marketing background. So that's question one, is how did you get the skill set? And two, how did you avoid, because this is a trap that I find myself jumping into a lot, looking for doing the things that I'm used to doing,
Yeah.
because they're the comfort zone for a reason.
Yeah. I think it's a very good question. In my previous the startup that I pivoted from, which was
Yeah.
Espresso, I went ahead with this really like headstrong that even as a non-technical founder, I can do this.
Mhm.
I was slapped on my face and I realized I cannot do this. As if I do not, if I don't have a team, if you have a team,
Mhm.
even then, if you're in the technical market and you're building a product as technical as mine, which is basically an AI well-being companion, you need to know how the product works. Especially, I think for me, it's very important to know how my tech works. And at that point of time, what I did was I was still very resourceful, so I outsourced what I was doing. I hired a freelancer. I made the product on Figma and all of that. But there was still a big bridge that I could see, because for any change that I needed to push on the platform, anything my then customers needed, I just couldn't do it because I didn't know how to. I was too reluctant to learn how to do that. So I just took a break, 3 months. I was
Mhm.
like, I am just gonna learn how to code. Big ambition, very, very
Mhm.
big ambition.
Uh-huh.
But my mom calls me very stubborn, and I am stubborn. She used to say it in a bad way, but I think I'm stubborn in a good way, because I
Yeah, you're
realized that,
persistent.
yeah, I'm persistent. Because I realize I really cannot do this unless and until I know how my tech works. And as a founder, even if you're non-technical, even if you're technical, you need to know the core of your product, and
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
cannot rely on the other person wholeheartedly. That what if that person goes on leave, or your technical support goes on leave? What are you going to do? Because it is a startup, you're supposed to know how it really works. And I was like 3 months in. At that time, Cursor did not come out. It was only Claude and ChatGPT and YouTube. So I went on YouTube and I really took a lot of free, free courses, which are really easy to learn on YouTube. And 1 month, I just learned the basics. How
Mhm.
just really basics. I did JavaScript. I did really, really basic stuff, and I was like, yeah, I can. I think I can do this. And then when I got a basic understanding, and that was all I needed, a basic understanding of how to set the tech up, how to find problems and how to solve them. And then it was just like a really easy math equation that I was solving for any problem. And then Cursor came out. It just made my life easier because what I was doing earlier was going into Claude and talking and then going to YouTube and then building. And what
Yeah.
happened with all these AI products is that they really enabled me to build out my entire platform.
Mhm.
Now we're at 700-ish users, and I have bugs coming in, and I have problems coming in, and I have new feature requests, and I can push them out in 2 days because that's all I need. I just need to find a problem, solution, how to solve it, make like a little bit of a mind map in my head to see
Mhm.
how is this going to work, find the problem, go to Cursor, work with it, and just push the feature out. It breaks sometimes, but it
Yeah.
really makes me very empowered to solve my own problems. Because otherwise, where I was stuck, I think last year was just not being able to understand my own tech. No one wants to back a founder who cannot understand their own tech. It's very hard. It can get draining. You
Yeah.
would rather just take 3 months, 4 months to learn. And I'm not saying you need to be 100% proficient because who I was competing with is people who've been coding for years and years and years. Accept it, you're never going to be there because they learned to code probably from when they were 13, 14 years of age.
Yeah.
And you're like, in your early 20s or something, you're going to need too much of experience to be as good as them. But you need to realize you don't need to be as good as them. You just need to understand and solve as crappy as you can. But at
Mhm.
least it's a solution that's better than not having any technical grit and not understanding anything and being totally okay with and just snobby about it. I was just snobby that, I'm not going to learn how to code. I can do it without technical founder. I can
Mhm.
do it without learning about my product. And that was wrong. I shouldn't have done that.
Okay, so let me ask you one thing. Why did you choose not to look for a technical co-founder then? Because
Honestly, I did.
that's
It was my choice. My first choice was to look for a technical co-founder because a lot of VCs back then were only backing people with technical co-founders and all of that. And I was like, I don't know how to do this. I might as well find a technical co-founder. I think the landscape is very hard, especially if you come from the kind of background that I come from. Even though I worked at startups, they were mid-scale startups. They weren't as early, like they were not super early stage. So I didn't know people in the field where I was heading because I was heading to just starting your company scene. And where I came from, especially from marketing, I was at a different stage where I wouldn't know people who were going to be a match for a technical co-founder. Then the other thing was even on these matching platforms, I honestly just found really, really weird people on the YC matching platform. I've tried a lot of co-founder matching platforms. I've sat on a lot of calls, and it just felt very uneasy for me. That am I just supposed to make this XYZ person my co-founder? I barely know the person. How am I supposed to work with this person if I do not trust him or her? And how am I
Mhm.
supposed to just close my eyes and give my platform to someone? And then there was the people who were charging money for it. They're like, you're gonna give us $10,000. Like, it's a startup, you're supposed to work without money, and then we're gonna get money at some point of time, hopefully. You
Yeah.
have to be okay with the bad parts of starting a startup too. You can't just think that I'm gonna give you my own money that I would rather put in the company than have you with your skill set. So it's hard navigating if you do not know people because it's a game of trust. You need to trust your co-founder. You need
Yeah.
to trust the person you're supposed to work with. And for me, it doesn't come easily. And I think that's just me. So I really didn't find someone who I could make my co-founder. I always say I'm open to it, but it's going to be a journey. You work with me, and then we work together, and then I come to trust you. I think that's going to take a while to
Yeah,
really trust someone.
isn't that sort of the normal thing with trust?
It
It sort
is,
of
yeah.
comes, as we say in Dutch, it comes by foot and it goes by horse.
It does, but I've also seen a lot of people who don't really know their co-founders and they just start the company and then they the other person just leaves because they didn't trust each other and hard parts came and one of them just was like, hey, bye, I'm not going to do this. Because that
Yeah,
happens. You need to accept the reality that it's not going to be rainbows and butterflies all the time when you're building a startup. It's going to be hard. And the other person that you have, I think I need to trust the other person as much as I trust my boyfriend. I've asked him many times, can you be my co-founder? He said no, sadly, because he has his own thing. I'm like, no, I'm not going to be your co-founder. Go do your thing. But, I need to be able to trust that person as much as you would trust your partner, because this is as, as hard as building a life. So I would really equate it that you really need to be able to trust. It's really important, and I just wasn't able to find it in the people um that I really met with.
understood. Um, let's shift to Ember, because you're building Ember. Uh, maybe explain what Ember is.
Yeah, it is an AI based mental health companion.
Mm,
Um, for marketing reasons, right now it's being called an AI therapist, and that's a total different debate that I did not get into. But essentially, it's providing therapy like conversations. So it is basically trained to support you in your hard times. You're
mhm,
anxious, you're not having a good day. Anything you would like to talk about, it's judgment free. We're very culturally aware in the platform. So we support different cultures. We've trained it on data that it's, that you're supposed to be more culturally sensitive. You're supposed to support people, not just on the, so it's not like you would go to, a Western person's office, a therapist's office, and
mm,
they wouldn't understand your cultural background. That's something that Amber could really do. It really understands if I'm Indian. It really understands all the things that really happen back in India or, my cultural background. So we've also made it very sensitive in that point. And it's basically you can talk to it about anything and everything. And it's just here to be your mental health companion as a bridge with therapy. So we do not recommend that you use it as a replacement because that's not nice. You still need human touch, you still need human support. But for people who cannot afford it, for people who want to go to a therapist's office, but they're still hesitant because that's a whole another journey, you can use it as a supplement to really work out your thoughts and figure out how you're feeling and maybe feel a little better.
okay, so I want to double click on the cultural sensitivity. How did you bake that into the platform? Because to me that sounds incredibly hard to do.
It is because we still get feedback from our customers are really, really, really nice people. They understand that it's, one person building the platform. So anytime they're not happy with the responses that they get back
Mm,
from, the chatbot, which essentially it is, they let me know that, hey, I had a religious conversation with your chatbot and it really didn't go well. I don't think it understood it. So that's a point for me to go back and change the prompts. So how all these AI chatbot work is basically a lot of prompting, going back and forth and telling it what to do, how to do it. So as much as I could think, I put in the initial prompts, like you're supposed
mm,
to be culturally sensitive, you're supposed to understand, how different cultures work and a lot of other things. And then what happens is on the basis of user feedback I get, I go back in and I change those prompts to make it even more culturally sensitive. So 2 months ago, Amber was not doing good with from our customers who were more from a very religiously conservative background. But now we've put in more prompts to sort of help it understand better that this is what is needed by religious people who are a little more sensitive to these conversations. So now it is able to handle it much better than it used to 2 months ago. That's how it usually goes: more feedback, more thinking, and really reading a lot of things on how different people sort of react to different responses.
mhm.
So that's a little bit of a nutshell of how we go back and forth with the prompts of the chatbot.
Yeah, so you use user feedback a lot also to improve how Amber operates.
Yes.
So you positioned it as a sort of quote unquote bridge between therapy, real therapy, and just needing a person to talk to, I guess. Um, why is that space so powerful? And how did you come to the idea to start filling that particular space or niche?
Yeah, I think it's really because so we as good as therapy really is, it's not all good.
Mhm.
You have my first therapist wasn't the best. The person who diagnosed me with ADHD wasn't the best. So these things happen because even those people are human beings. They come with their own preconceived notions, their own biases,
I
their
see.
own problems to the room. And no matter how much they try to, take it back and not bring it in the room, it still comes out with you because it is part of you. So sometimes it's just not the right match. Some people are really weary of therapy because it's a lot of unpacking. You need to be ready for it. Like, you're
Yeah.
ready for marriage, you need to be ready to go to therapy. You won't just go to a therapist's office, and otherwise everyone would be taking therapy, right? Because it's a good thing, but still people are hesitant to go into a therapist's office. The other thing is it is expensive. I think it's a hot take, but I think therapy is for you know the privileged. It's not for, and there are free resources of course, but those free resources act like they're free resources. They
Mhm.
cannot be as good as if you're going to pay someone who's really knowledgeable to help you out. So I think all these gaps really exist, which is why a lot of people use ChatGPT for their feelings. So there is a market here. It just wasn't that I was feeling so, or you know that I built this, which was true. It was also on my own personal experiences that I
Mhm.
was really passionate about it. But there's also a market because I think there was a recent study. I don't want to quote the numbers because I'm not fully clear on them. Can't recall them. But a lot of the population uses ChatGPT to talk to their feelings. I have a lot of
Yeah.
therapists in my DM who are like, my clients are using ChatGPT in between their sessions
Yeah.
to, talk to it. Because when you go to therapy, you really bring out the major big problems, not the smaller ones, not the I was feeling anxious because I had a fight with my neighbor. You don't bring that up because you have bigger problems like I'm getting divorced. So,
Yeah.
there's a bigger problem and then there's a smaller problem. And for the smaller problems, in an hour where you're paying $150 to $200, you sort of pick and choose between the problems you really want to unpack, and then you have
Yeah.
an hour. Then for example, my therapist went on a sabbatical, then she just left me. That was sad. And then I was like, what am I supposed to do? So all the smaller problems, you don't really have anyone to talk to. Your friends, as I already told, are not the best fit for
No.
talking about your feelings. um, ChatGPT, as I always say, it's not really good to talk to it about your feelings because it is more enabling your behavior than really helping you unpack them, which is really essentially what you need in a therapy setting or in a setting where you're supposed to, be helped.
Yeah.
So that doesn't, ChatGPT doesn't really help with it because it's a very general tool. You could ask it to make grocery lists, you could ask it to write you a song or XYZ, and it does everything. So it's not specially trained to help
But
you or be there with you.
is it also too much solution oriented, so not analyzing enough? Is that what I'm
Yeah,
hearing you say?
it is more solution oriented because I think at the core, a lot of chatbots, all the chatbots, even mine, can sometimes be solution oriented. But because it is, based mostly on, try and help the user more, try and, understand how, unpack things. So it really steers away from the solution based approach. Our ChatGPT is especially ChatGPT and 4.0, which a lot of public is using at the moment. It can be a little dangerous, I would say, is because it was really made to enable things. It is really made to give you solutions and make you feel better. So even if you
Yeah.
say something which isn't really, good for you, it's still going to make you, still going to enable things to you. And that's just because it's how it was made, because it really wasn't made for your feelings.
It's really made to provide solutions, not necessary to as you said, to deal with feelings.
Yeah.
So can Amber be used to augment therapy? So is that possible now, or will that be possible in the future? That for instance, your therapist will, if you have one, plugs it in the data into his own platforms.
I think that's something that I've been thinking about, but I don't think it can do it yet. What we're trying to do is find therapists who can really just recommend Amber as, a supplement or like a prescription that you can talk to it between sessions, and, you can practice your exercise and all of that. But that's an ongoing process because a lot of medical professionals are not really open to the idea. I'm seeing more and more people get open to it, but they're still very hesitant, and rightly so, because it's a very sensitive space to be in. So I understand their hesitation, but I also think it's about time to come to terms with the reality that people are using ChatGPT.
Yeah,
Would you rather have them use ChatGPT, or would you work with people who are trying to make it, safer environment? And I'm not just saying you need to work with me. Please go and work with other people who are making,
yeah,
similar platforms, because it is the reality. It's happening, and it's happening fast. So you might as well, you
yeah.
know,
Jump on the train.
jump on the train. Yeah.
Yeah. So on that point, because there's indeed you're working with feelings and a lot of highly personal data. How do you ensure that it's also not? We dealt with a bit with the inclusion part already, but how do you deal with also the safety part? So how do you keep the data safe? How do you ensure that the advices that are given are also safe?
Yeah, I think we first of all we follow all the privacy policy and the guidelines, and we make it very clear to the users that, nothing like no one's in the background, selling the data or any of that. So that doesn't really happen. Why would I do that? So we make sure that privacy first. So what we have in Amber is for free users, it doesn't have memory, so it doesn't really remember things, which basically means that in the back end, we don't have your data, just like goes away, right? We do have aggregated anonymous data for, purposes of trying to make the platform better. So we are only able to find out the broad spectrum of talks they're doing. But
Hmm.
that is just for, finding out how the chatbot is really performing. So we don't really save anything. We don't, sell anything, and we make it really clear to the users. And
Hmm.
I think our users are they understand all of this, which is why we've been growing and we've been keeping our premium users who also get memory. So they really like that, Amber can remember things, but that
Hmm.
doesn't mean that I remember things, because I am not going to go and, see who talked about what, because we don't really save any of that. So I think they understand it, which is why they really, really just, come back, because it's a secure platform. And we follow all the, technical background and all of that. So none of the platforms are hacked, or none of the things are leaked. I make it a point to make privacy first and all of the good stuff, which is really important for the users, to make them feel really secured when they're
Yeah.
using our platform.
Okay. Yeah. Some time ago, you launched your beta version, and you have actually users now on the platform. How did that shift your perspective on entrepreneurship and on what's important as a solo founder?
Yeah, I think when I was, just starting off, I had no users. I had people who were like 10, 20 users. It meant nothing. It was like, okay, yeah, whatever, people are using it. And then I saw that it just kept on growing. And it made me panic that now I have 100 people, 200, 300, 400, 500.
Yeah.
We're almost at 700. And now I'm like, excuse me, people are using this. And it's hard to come in terms with it because now people are really depending on it
Yeah.
a lot of times. So I need to top up my credits on more technical stuff that I need to so they can keep talking to the chatbot. I need to pay our suppliers, not suppliers, like the open router, for example, money, so they can keep talking to it. A lot of times I forget to top it up, and then the chatbot stops working. So my users message me, hey, I really need to talk to your platform. Can you, it's not
Uh,
working. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to make it, I forgot to top the credits up. And at that point, I was like, oh my God, people really use it day in and day out. A lot of our customers, users come back and they're really on the platform talking to it actively and chatting with it. So all of this comes with a big responsibility, which was that no matter what happens, I need to keep this platform going up to the quality, up to the mark. It cannot slide. Honestly, that was a very big panic moment for me now that we're getting closer to 1,000 users.
mhm.
That when I think of it, I don't even know those many people in reality, right? I don't know 700 people. I don't know 600 people. And those many people are really using my platform, which just makes me lose my mind that I really need to be on my toes all the time and serve them no matter what happens. So that was a good
Okay.
realization to come to.
Okay. So on that point, because my question now is, you've dealt with burnout, so you know what it feels like. How are you going to prevent that from happening again? Because
I
I always say that founders sort of need to be on the brink of a burnout,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
really need to be like almost maxing out their battery life, so to say. But how do you make sure that it doesn't that it doesn't explode, and how do you recharge your battery to make sure that you're able to keep delivering?
Yeah, I think what I did, I started setting some goals which are not work related.
Hmm.
So I made this list for myself where, for example, now I'm training for a half marathon and my goal is to get faster, right? It's classic founder thing. I think anyone who's a founder and investor in a high stress job, they just start running and it's a good thing. And
Yeah.
I
Oh
just
yeah.
set this goal that I need to get faster. And at the point of time that I'm running, which is every 3 days I go out on a run, and then every other day, so 6 or 7 days a week, I'm just working out or running or trying to get faster, trying to get better, trying to look fitter and all of that, getting jacked. So those things are like, I have different goals which have nothing to do with my work. It
Hmm.
really helps me anytime I'm feeling like it's too much, I have too much to do, I have too much work. 1 hour in the day is just for me, and that's I just take it out, I go and work out, I go and run, and I have a different goal that I set for myself. So it can get a little toxic, the whole
Yeah.
setting a different
Yeah.
goal for yourself. But even then, it's just making me feel much better. And then the other thing that I started getting back into, I really liked, I'm not any good at it, but I like to paint and draw and clay and all of that, pottery, as a kid. So I
Huh?
started, I bought this air dry clay at home, and
Uh-huh.
I just make like really weird sculptures. They're really bad. I throw them out, but I still do that like an hour when the day ends. I'm just, sitting with my music and just doing that or reading a book. So it really helps to just disconnect from your work identity. Even though I work from home, my laptop is always with me. I make it a rule that me and my partner both, that at lunch, dinner, and breakfast, we're not to talk work, we're not to look at our laptops or our phones. We're just gonna, watch TV, or we're just gonna eat, do something fun. And
Yeah.
then good thing I have a dog. So 3 times a day, I need to take a break. I need to take her out. And that really helps me just disconnect from my daily life.
Okay. Yeah. The running part I can fully empathize with because I do that twice a week, and I have two workouts per week that are almost. I don't know if you deal with it the same way, but for to me they're really sacred. I need those. and I want those, and I make time for those, whatever is happening. Runs, raining outside, I still go.
Yeah.
So that's
It
that
gets
part.
to a point where it's really crazy because it's in the Netherlands. It rains a lot, doesn't see the sun, but I still go out in drenching rain. I still do my 5K, 4K, whatever. Just get
Yeah,
out, just do it, come back, and then get back to your work.
yeah. Do you have a scheme for the half marathon? So
Um,
you build up towards
yeah.
because running 21K, I can tell you from experience, running 5K is sort of you can do. Running 10K, if you train, it's reasonably possible. Running half a marathon is a different beast already.
Yeah. I was supposed to, but I got injured in my knee, so I wasn't able to do that. So I just ran a 10K back in Norway, and I saw my boyfriend run his first half marathon. I was like, I don't know if I can do this, but I still signed up because it is also mental. You really need to push through. It's more
Yeah,
mental than it's physical, I've heard.
yeah, yeah. True. Yeah, the only advice I have is train at least 17K. Make sure you have like 16, 17K done, and the last 5K you can do on mental
Good to
strength.
know. Good to know.
Anyway, that about running. Let's shift to fundraising because you're fundraising too. I was wondering what your expectations and were, and how they because there's the 2%, famous 2%, where of venture capital that goes to female founders. How did you deal with the whole experience? What was the experience like?
Yeah, I think it's been, I mean, I knew that it was going to be hard, and it is hard
Mm,
fundraising, especially as a solo founder where you don't really have, um, I can't really spend my entire day just fundraising. I
no,
also need to do other things, right? So
yeah,
I
there's a
realized
company to
also,
run.
yeah, there's a company to run, and I was just when I was running, and my partner likes to talk a lot and give me a lot of lectures when I'm spiraling. He was
Yeah.
like, this 10K that you're doing, one day you're going to do a marathon, and then you're going to realize you really need to keep your pace, hold your pace, because if you're going 42 kilometers, you cannot sprint out of it unless and until you're like a professional athlete. So then I realized it's very cliche, but it is a marathon, not a sprint. I need to save my energy. I need to, hold myself and make myself understand that this is going to take time. It's
Hmm.
not going to be like I'm very impatient too, and it cannot be that, oh, end of June I'm just going to finish fundraising. That's not going to happen because the market is hard. uh, all of the other odds are also sort of against me, like female founder, also brown, a lot of other things,
Hmm.
so a lot of things are going to come to me where people are going to tell me that you're not going to be able to do this. But I've been told that too many times in my life that it doesn't even affect me anymore. I'm like, I don't care, I'm going to do it anyway. It's okay, I can do this. And I think that's really how I just go through with it. That no founder, I think, and I always take it as, I heard that someone rejected Cursor because they thought it was not going to do well. They're doing extremely well, so it's their loss. That's how it can be a little cocky, but that's how I like to think of it, that people who are going to reject me or who are not going to invest in me, I don't need to think of them. They're probably not a good fit anyway. And I just need to find the right people who believe in me, who are going to invest in me. I think it's going to happen, not today, maybe not tomorrow, in 3 months, 4 months. It's going to take as long it's going to take. I cannot speed up the process because fundraising is difficult. It's a hard game to be in.
Yeah.
And, especially since have had more customers growing in, and the love that really pours into me. I get messages, I get so much support from my users. It really just removes all the imposter syndrome that really comes in, that, I cannot do this. I'm like, no, I can do this. I think I can do this. If my users like me, who's not to invest in this company? So that's how I
Yeah.
really think of it.
Yeah, in the end, the investors are only rocket fuel to make it grow faster, but you already grow.
Yeah,
So you don't need to.
it's
It's not you're. What I'm hearing you say is that you're sort of less dependent on the validation part.
yeah. I think a friend of mine asked me this question that, what's going to happen if you don't fundraise? Like, it's just going to be slower for me to grow because you do
Yeah,
need a lot of capital to scale rapidly.
yeah,
It's going to be slower, but it's going to happen. Going to make it happen somehow or some way or the other. It's going to be slower than I would expect if I wasn't able to fundraise, but it's not going to be the end of the world that everything's destroyed because I still have people using me. So that's a good
yeah.
outlook to look at it.
Okay. What's the worst or the weirdest remark you got from people in the as part of the fundraising process?
Um, it's standard, really. Just they never reply. I think I've seen this with VCs. They're never going to reply with, "I'm never going to invest in this," or "This is a bad idea," because you never know, right?
Yeah,
You're not an astrologer. You don't know what's going to happen. So I've always heard this is a very crowded market, or yeah, we think as I'm raising pre-seed, a lot of people ask me for revenue. I'm like, excuse me, there's no revenue because it is pre-seed, and I'm still validating my idea and reaching people. And one thing that I've always heard from investors or on their websites is like, we are the first check-in. We believe in
yeah.
yeah,
The
very, very, very early stage. And then they're like, but we need 1 million in revenue. I'm like, okay, bye. So that can get a little like, excuse me, what is your headline doesn't match with your expectations.
yeah.
So yeah, sometimes it can get like that, but yeah, it's just part of it.
But and did you experience any of the part about being asked about, oh, how are you going to deal with this at home? Women are known to get different questions from investors than men. So did you experience any of that part?
No, honestly, I think I've been really lucky that I haven't really had any strange questions being asked to
Okay.
me. They've been all the people I've talked to, they've been really respectful and they've really not brought up anything which has been out of the
Okay.
ordinary that I would really, yeah. So I've been lucky in that department.
Okay. Then I'm happy. I'm really happy to hear that. So, um, so what is next for Amber? What does the future look like? So how do you want to build it?
Yeah, I think as if I'm gonna be very ambitious, and this is also on my pitch deck, that if I'm gonna be very, very ambitious, I think I want it to be, you think of meditation, you're thinking of headspace, you think of sleep, you're thinking of calm. If you think of Amber, of, someone to talk to, maybe you want to think of Amber. That's where I eventually want it to be. But
Hmm.
I think right now I'm on a right now plan. I'm a great Grey's Anatomy. I watch it a lot, and Dr. Bailey said, "What's the right now plan?" I'm like, the
Yeah.
right now plan, honestly, is to just grow to 1,000 users, give them the best platform that I can really give them, uh, keep up the quality, keep up the good work, and just be at it. So I don't think too much into the future because future is really just really unpredictable. I don't know what's gonna change, what's gonna happen. But if you were to ask me next week, just grow my users, maybe ship some new features, get on user queries. That's all I can really think of.
Okay. So it's really also short term, uh, getting to the next step rather than, well, there is a big goal to be the, let's say, the calm of mental health. So is there anything you, before you started, that you would have liked to have known looking back at your journey?
Um, Honestly, I think I learned a lot from my first venture, which was Espresso. I learned plenty from that.
Mm,
I think the other thing that I would, tell myself is that you don't need to, just because I'm told that, you're supposed to go to networking events and you're supposed to talk to a lot of people and you're supposed to
mm,
meet a lot of people. I think what I've learned is I need to keep the quality up. a lot of places that I go to,
Mm,
I meet a lot of mansplainers, people telling me, yeah, I can build a product better than you. And that drains me because I do not want to be hanging out. I mean, sure, go ahead, make it. But, I don't want to be in places where I get nothing out of it, right? I need to come back and feel energized rather than really drained and never show up for an event again. I think that's
mm,
what I've been teaching myself, that it's not important for me to say yes to everything, yes to every meeting, yes to meeting everyone. Sometimes I also need to say no, this is not the right fit for me. I don't want to be, sitting in on this meeting which I don't know the outcome of, because I think as founders and as I think also as women, we're just too much into yes, yes, yes to everything. Don't say no. People are gonna get offended. No, say no. They can get offended. You don't owe them anything. It's okay. So I think that's what I would tell myself before I started, that don't cut yourself short with meeting the wrong people and
mm.
sitting in a place where people are just going to tell you you don't belong, because what's the point? You're just going to make yourself feel worse.
Yeah, true. And I think it's very strong to also be able to say no. So, if there, let's say, there's a female founder listening to this, and they're thinking about launching a mental health app, what advice would you give them?
It's It's tough, but it doesn't mean that you cannot do it. You need to believe. I think the first thing that needs to come for you is the passion,
Mm-hmm.
that you really need to build something.
Mm,
Be ready to pivot your product. Don't be stubborn like I was to sit on one product and just, be like, I'm going to build this, I'm going to do this. No. In a startup, you need to pivot. You need to have user feedback first, then there's anything else. It's always put the users first, then think of anything. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, people are going to keep telling you you cannot do this. Just get used to hearing that. Don't get used to hearing that. Don't think that it's going to be true. Just treat it as white noise. Like, people play background music, it's just background music, that you
yeah,
cannot do this. Just like, they're going to keep
yeah. The
blabbering.
the yeah
Yeah,
the sound
it's
is
okay.
there. The sound
Yeah,
is there.
but
You just need to ignore it
yeah, you just need to
functionally.
ignore it. It's gonna, yeah, just let it be.
Are there questions that female founders should ask? So you're not telling me I can't do this. So how can I?
Yeah, you should always look at problems with, how can I solve this, or how can I do this? What would be a better way to find more users, instead of framing, and this is from therapy, framing questions negatively, where you're like, can I do this?
Uh-huh.
Ask questions like, how can I do this? It really changes your perspective on your questions. So instead of really questioning yourself, question, how can you do this, or how can you be better, or how can you make your product better, or just anything. And I think this is also for life, especially for women. I think you're going to keep hearing a lot of things, and you don't need to be a big critic of yourself. People are going to do that for you. Let them. So you don't need to keep questioning yourself over everything. Yeah, it's
Well, that is a really beautiful place to move to my last question. So I'm on a mission to make inclusion in tech the new normal by the end of 2032. No, let me just rephrase that out loud. I'm on a mission to make allyship the new normal by the end of 2032. What is one thing you think I should do to get there?
I think, good question. That's probably gonna have to think on that. Yeah, I think what you're doing, honestly, today, right now, I think that's a lot. Is when I was like, I heard of your podcast, and I was Women Disrupting Tech, and a man is hosting it. I was like, huh, weird. Okay. Because a lot of times that we go to these conversations, we're like, is he going to be like one of those people who're just going to mansplain me things? But, you weren't. And that is really nice to have that conversation, that, you're just here to listen to us and support us. And that's a lot, because I think you cannot just alienate one gender and be like, oh, we're just going to do this alone, or the other way around. You need to be in it together. So instead of looking at us as, women is in the room, just think of us as people. We're in the room with you, we're doing anything that we can do. So I think this podcast that you've started, I think that really is just can be one of the answers that, you're helping us have our stories out, asking us the right questions, and helping other women come out and just talk more. So I think it's really nice to have men support, or just be there, thinking about that. Okay, yeah, they can do this too.
Yeah. So what would be the next step? So listening and giving women a platform is obviously step one, and also visiting, or let's say, assuming we're in the room together. It's not just men versus women. What is the next step from that, you think?
Yeah, I think just helping, if we're in the room together, just not making me feel any less. I
Hmm.
think that would really mean a lot. And then because I don't feel less, I don't feel like you're going to say the wrong thing because you're being just a normal person. It
Hmm.
really empowers me to, make the right decisions and really talk openly with you. And that really just empowers me. And that's all you can do, as I think. I don't know if that was the right answer to the question, because I can't really think if what would be the next step, because I think that's the first step is what you need, and I think the change is going to keep happening from that.
Okay. Kuhu Singh, thank you very much for an amazing conversation. Really enjoyed this. If people want to learn more about you or about Amber, where can they find more information?
Yeah, well, you can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm Kuhu Singh. And Amber, it's www.ambermind.ai. You can go to the website, try the product out. If you don't like it, please come back, tell me what you don't like. I'll fix it. Hopefully you like it then.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. So also, and that's an invite that I extend to listeners. Really provide. It's good to use the platform, but please also provide feedback because that's how people learn.
Yeah,
So,
constructive feedback, please.
yeah, of course. Don't bash it.
Yeah.
We have other people for that. So,
Yes.
okay, cool. Sing. Really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you very much. Listeners, thank you very much for listening. And until the next episode, keep being awesome. Well, that's it for episode 117 of Women Disrupting Tech with Kuhu Singh, titled How Burnout Fueled Kuhu Singh to Build a Bridge Between AI and Therapy with Amber. Kuhu and I hope you found our conversation as inspiring and empowering as we intended it to be. And if you have any questions for Kuhu, please leave them in the comments on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. I'll make sure you receive an answer. When you want to connect with Kuhu or learn more about Amber, please check out the links in the show notes. As usual, you can find the show notes at womendisruptingtech.blog, and the link is also in the description. If you've enjoyed listening to this episode, please consider leaving a rating or a review on Apple or Spotify. Leaving a rating or a review helps new listeners find the podcasts and supports my guests by giving them a bigger platform. If you're a regular listener, please make sure to follow Women Disrupting Tech on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or YouTube. Following us is a simple, zero-cost way to support Kuhu and my other guests in making inclusion in tech the new normal by the end of 2032. If you'd like to learn more about Women Disrupting Tech, you can follow the podcast on social media. You can find us everywhere as @Women Disrupting Tech. You can also find us on Substack. On Substack, you'll find in-depth stories and behind-the-scenes insights about each episode, plus trends that I've spotted across 100 plus conversations that I've had so far. So don't forget to subscribe to Substack for more Women Disrupting Tech. Finally, if you'd like to connect with me directly, please reach out via email dirkjan@womendisruptingtech.blog or connect on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, simply search for my name and you'll find me. With that, I wish you a wonderful day. I hope to see you in the next episode. And until then, as always, keep being awesome.